everybody, and welcome to Betweenplays Stock Market Strategies. We have John Passalacqua from First Phosphate. John, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Albert. Yourself?
I'm doing very, very good. Thanks. I saw that today that, we weren't really supposed to talk about this too much because I had other things I wanted to interview about, but I think we should talk about it a little bit. Isabel Sheldon added to the advisory board. Can you speak to us a little bit about this?
Yeah, no, we're really happy to have her on board. I mean, she's great. She knows the battery space inside out. She was I guess in a sense knighted by the Queen of England at the time for her knowledge on in the battery space and her contributions to the industry in the UK. So and the world. So you can imagine, what a prestige it is and what knowledge base she's sitting on. And she's also very, very kind and magnanimous person. I really like that about her. I always like people who have a lot of knowledge, but share it and who are very humble. And so she fits all those bills. Just a great, great person to have on board here on our team, and just a great compliment to our team, even if it's just the advisory board for now.
It's not every day that you have someone knighted by a queen on your company's roster there. So definitely, especially being an expert in the field that this is great for First Phosphate. I mean, we got so many different people that are even coming on board now. It's so much just to give. Something I wanted to talk to you about. I thought this was really interesting. I've read in mining.com recently that they're talking about phosphate shortage, okay, in the LFP market as early as 2026. I mean, with everything that First Phosphate has going on, the position you have down in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean area, talk to us a little bit about what this means and what does it mean for Quebec? What does it mean for First Phosphate?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I just getting back from Washington from the Benchmark Gigafactories conference last week, and I was asked to speak there. And this really came up almost needing to be able to have a strategic production of purified phosphoric acid in North America, and a strategic reserve of purified phosphoric acid. And that's what we're looking to build here at First Phosphate, because the demand on purified phosphoric acid, which is basically what goes into making LFP battery. It's not like you take phosphate rock and mix it and there you go. Like you got to purify it. It's got to get to 100% purity phosphate, which is purified phosphoric acid. And then you mix it with an iron source and also lithium. You get LFP, but the amount of purified phosphoric acid that's going to be needed between now and say 2030, and especially 2035, 2040, it goes absolutely to insane levels. By 2030, there's going to be 750,000 tons of LFP cathode active material required just for small cars, just the little ones that get you back and forth. Passenger vehicles. If you move that into buses and commercial transportation, you can double that. And then if you move into large scale energy storage, 5G towers, energy coming off of large scale solar and wind farms and hydro, and even smaller scale solar and hydro in people's houses, you can double again. And then, other little things like, kids skateboards and e-bikes and all that kind of stuff, it adds on a whole other layer as well. Just by 2030, how purified phosphoric acid will be an increase of about 35% requirement. That's just for the small EVs, right? But like I said, if you start bringing in all the other sectors that will be affected by LFP cathode active material, you could more than maybe double, maybe even triple the amount of purified phosphoric acid that we need in North America. And there's really just kind of one producer of purified phosphoric acid that sells it. And that's really Nutrien. And they're constrained by their mine size and also by the markets that they're already serving. They can't really give it out to LFP battery. And then there is some importation of purified phosphoric acid, but it's very difficult to import purified phosphoric acid. It's got to travel in special vessels. There's risks of contamination. It's high expense with that. There's high carbon footprint with that. And there's high insurance costs as well, and just high liability. So you definitely need a local North American source of purified phosphoric acid. You need it for different reasons. I mean, one of the things that came up in Washington was, U.S. military, really needs something here at home that it can rely on to create LFP battery. So yes, that's where the shortage is going to be when as soon as you start getting out past 2026, you start getting to 2028. That's when you're going to really start seeing the shortage and really start seeing a price spike in purified phosphoric acid. We're already starting to see it on a small scale. We're already seeing it in kind of the discussions and the offtake agreements. People are starting to panic for 2026, 2028. And that's kind of when First Phosphate is trying to be there to sort of fill that market. And we should be the only company in North America that could actually fill that demand. There's no other phosphate deposits that could come online before then. that have any kind of an orientation or dedication to this purified phosphoric acid. Some of the others that are out there, they're all dedicated towards fertilizer, really, even if they do come online. So, we've got a real strategic direction here at the First Phosphate. It's kind of to, give North America that strategic amount of purified phosphoric acid that it's going to need for its electrification prerogatives.
When you take into consideration the fact that there's going to be a shortage, right? And this is, this has been stated here from companies like mining.com as well and stuff like that, not just like myself, yourself, or whatever. We're looking at, really huge statistical data that's saying that there's going to be shortage. When you look at battery makeup, I mean, it's not like as if there's just a little bit of phosphoric acid in an LFP battery. I mean, it makes up a huge percentage of it. So the shortage, with the fact that it makes up such a huge percentage, it can't just be transitioned out. I mean, this is very important that we have companies like yourself that's going to be able to, supply for this demand that's needed.
Yeah. So, basically, when you make an LFP battery, 28% of parent, approximately what goes in. I mean, it's all different, but say that 25 to 35% is purified phosphoric acid at, a really high level of purity, about 99.9% pure, and diluted at, 85% because it's got a little bit of water in there so it doesn't freeze. But, that's what you need to make an LFP battery, and that doesn't go away. You also need purified phosphoric acid in the electrolyte. So the electrolyte that carries the charge back and forth from the anode to the cathode, from the anode and the cathode. Basically, that requires generally those electrolytes use phosphate, regardless of whether they're in an LFP battery or lithium ion battery. Obviously, that's not the same amount, but it's still another big use for phosphate. So phosphate is prevalent really across all the battery technologies in one capacity or another. But in the LFP battery, that's where you really need a lot of it. And you need a lot of it in there because it's basically replacing some of the need for NMC, which just can't keep up, right? And the nickel, manganese, and cobalt.
That's very interesting. And given all of this information, what I really like when we transition out, this will be the last question, John. Your last drilling results seem to have world-class deposits. So when you take all of this information and you look at First Phosphate with your last drilling results, can you, in layman's terms, try to explain to the viewers out there what this means for First Phosphate?
Yeah, it was just fantastic results. I mean, once the news was out, I was happy. I bought some stock on the back of it as well, because I was now allowed to, because I was out of blackout. But look, we have one property at La Colorinial that has 49 million tons in the ground between inferred and indicated. Obviously, we think that drilling can increase that somewhat. We're putting that property to PEA. That's a about 15-year mine life, perhaps around 500,000 tons per annum. Obviously, we need our PEA to confirm all of this. So I don't want to say that's just very approximate. That's kind of what a mine like that would look like. But when you start looking at Beijing La Marche and just the drill results that come back, the grade, which is higher than La Colorinial, and the number of holes that have come back positive, and you kind of just extrapolate that out just very generally, it seems to have tremendous amount of phosphate at or much better than La Colorinial at higher grade, with a lot of drilling left to go. And if you look at what our geologist did, he showed in some of the the map, which I hope will show now. It's the first map in the press release. He put out some dotted lines. There's a northern zone, there's a southern zone, and there's a dotted line zone where he thinks that we could also be drilling. If you look at the mag anomaly in there, anywhere that's pink could really be phosphate, right? That means it's kind of like a magnetic anomaly. So that's where it usually is. It's usually phosphate sits with iron and it sits with titanium. So that is ilmenite and magnetite. So of course, that's why the magnetics pick that up. So when you see magnetics, you would hope that there should be phosphate there as well. So we're sitting on a massive region of phosphate. It's big. Just requires a lot of drilling. We're going to drill a little bit more, very conservative. We're going to prove up, I hope, a 43-101 on the property, a very small one to start, which can be expanded by early next year. This should be ready. But it's a massive deposit. And it's massive in the sense that, most people are always looking for big deposits, they're looking for good grades. And then it's like, oh, it's 3,000 kilometers away from civilization. But then it really doesn't matter, right? If you can't get to it and you can't move it, what really matters in the end? So I think when we mine, and we actually have intention of, going to a PEA and going to a feasibility study and actually building a mine, we have to look for logistics, right? Because someone told me this and they're absolutely right. All that a mining plays in the end, it's not even about the mineral, it's a logistics play, right? So you have to look at the logistics very early on. And when you look at the logistics of Baie-Saint-Lamarche, it is just staggering. This property is sitting at 75 kilometers from the deep sea port of Saguenay. It's 5 kilometers from paved highway. It's got hydro, 3-phase hydro very close. It's got 2x logging forestry communities not so far from it, which, are people that, like work, understand work, like industrial work. They're very happy to have it in their area. Obviously, they want, everything respected. They want the environment respected, and that's what we all want nowadays. But we're very happy to have the work very closely. We're supported by CEMAX, Conférence de Maximisation des Retombées. It's like the economic, acceleration department, if you will, the economic development department of the region, and the conference of all the regional prefects of the region have supported the project. They've given us major project status, which is very rare for a project this early. But I think that they understand the hard work that we've been doing, and just the amount of sheer searching and scouring, and that's why we discovered Baie-Saint-Lamarche. And I believe that that's going to be world class. What makes that deposit world class is not only the grades and the amount of phosphate that might be there, but it's actually the feasibility, right? Like, we have come to the conclusion at First Phosphate that if you're anywhere between 150 to 250 kilometers north of the Port of Saguenay, there is no feasibility in a project, no matter how big it might be or how small. So we like to stick to these smaller projects, closer to infrastructure, lower capex. You're betting less. You're getting them into production with, calculated risk. So that's what makes it world class. Again, it's not only the grade, the size of the deposit that we think, but it's also the ability to actually be exploited. It's logistics. It's what makes it super special.
It's incredible. When you look at the macroeconomics of things, and then you look at First Phosphate, the future looks bright. John, thank you so much for being here on Betweenplays Stock Market Strategies, and I hope to see you again really soon.
Yeah, thanks, Albert. Always appreciate being on the show and love your enthusiasm. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Between Plays, it's the journey and what you do between where you are and where you want to be. Research, prepare.
Disclaimer: Betweenplays has a contract with said company in this video at the time of recording. Betweenplays only takes contracts with companies we believe have an opportunity to deliver a product or service based on our own research. That being said, always do your due diligence. Seek professional financial analyst when investing. This video is for entertainment, educational, informative purposes. See description for more information.
Between Plays, bridging the gap between companies and investors.